Good evening, dear participants. Thank you for joining us today. Today we'll be talking about the admission interview process at NUGSB. I'm happy to introduce you Professor Jenifer L, who teaches business communication classes and leadership here at Nazarbayev University Graduate School of Business. Also, we have Dana Yelimbetova with us tonight, who will be answering the admissions questions. Professor Lewis, let's begin.
All right. Thank you for introducing me, and thanks for taking your time out of your evening to join us tonight with this webinar. We're hopeful that the information that we provide to you will be helpful for you as you are preparing for your admissions interview with us here in GSB, and we hope that all of you who are joining us will apply to our programs. So we'll start with a little bit of information about the programs, and we might at some point turn off our video if for some reason the connection gets slow. We'll turn off the video because sometimes that can cause some problems with that. So I guess we'll just get started then. So you can see on the screen my bio. I've been in the School of Business since 2016, but I've been here at Nazarbayev University since 2011, the start of the university. I teach courses here in business communication and in leadership, and I'm also director of degree programs, so I'm responsible for the administration of all of our degree programs. So I'll go ahead and share with you a little bit about what we're planning to do tonight. So we've already told you a little bit about who we are, so then we'll talk some about the admissions interviews and the process for that, and then we will also share with you about some upcoming additional webinars that can be helpful for you. So let me start by telling you about our programs a little bit. So we have 3 programs that you are potentially interested in applying for: our full-time MBA, our executive MBA, and our Master's of Science in Finance. So you are likely aware of the information about the programs. If not, you can contact our admissions office and get information about each of the programs. We've given you some information here on the slides as well, so you have that information. But what I want to talk with you about tonight is specifically the interviews. We do an interview for all 3 of our programs: our full-time MBA, our executive MBA, and our Master's of Science in Finance. The interviews are very similar across all 3 programs, so I want to give you some information, some basics that will help you out with the interview process. So I'll go ahead and talk some about the interviews. Since fit is an important part of selecting a business school, the interview is key in determining fit for both the school and for the applicant. It's really our chance to learn more about you as an individual, to learn about what drives you, to learn about who you are as a professional, but also to learn about who you are personally, more about your personality. It's our chance to see if this environment works for you, and it's your chance to see if this environment fits who you are and fits what you are interested in pursuing as a professional. You're investing a lot of your time and energy into this program, and so participating in the program, you need to make sure that it's a good fit for you personally. So at GSB, we conduct what we call fit interviews. And by that, I mean that when you come in, we're not going to hand you a test and ask you to complete a task or something. You've already done that in your application materials. You've already answered answered essay questions. You've provided us with your transcript and things like that. So instead, during the interview, we are going to have a one-on-one conversation with you where we ask you questions about yourself, we ask you questions about your experience, and you will have the opportunity also to answer questions about us as well. So the interview really does find out who you are as a person, and it helps us to understand who you are. So one big thing to know is that we don't expect for you to be perfect in the interview. There's no right answer. There's no real wrong answer in the interview as well. We want you to answer us honestly so that we can get to know who you are and the way that you would respond to an issue in the workplace, or how you would deal with a particular situation that you might be exposed to. So we don't expect for you to be perfect. We want you to give us an honest some honest feedback and some honest information in your interviews. One of the other things that we're trying to assess in the interview is your personal confidence. How confident are you when you're asked a difficult question? How challenging is it for you to come up with a response? There are times in the interview where we might ask you the same question again and again and again, and some of that is to find out more about how confident are you in that answer. Do you change your response? And sometimes it's okay if you do change your response, if you think of another way to address a question. So we're really looking for personal confidence. Something else that we are hoping to find is that, something else you need to know, is that applicants are assessed in several different areas. When we finish with an interview process, we will go through with the information from the interview, and we will assess you in the areas that you see here on the screen. We want to know more about your purpose. What is your purpose for coming to our school? What is your purpose for wanting to pursue an MBA or a Master's of Science in Finance? What are the goals that you have for completion of the program? Why do you believe that this degree is the right degree for you at this time? So it's important for us to know what is your goal, and also to know what motivates you for pursuing this degree. The degrees that we have, they take a lot of time, they take a lot of energy, and we know that you need to be motivated to pursue this degree. And so for us, we need to know what's motivating you, because a lot of times just the potential for a higher salary is not good enough motivation to complete this degree well. So we want to know what it is that is motivating you as you are pursuing this program. So that's one of our key areas that we're looking for in the interview. Another purpose for the interview is to assess your communication and your interpersonal skills. So we need to know how good of a communicator are you? Are you able to communicate your ideas clearly? Do you have confidence in your ability to be able to answer a tough question? We also need to know about your interpersonal skills. How easy is it to talk to you? Are you able to speak easily about a particular topic? There might be times where we ask you about some current event situation. Tell us about something that's going on in the world of finance right now. And we want to know, how easy is it for you to answer that question? How easy is it for you to speak with other people on a particular topic? So we're looking for your communication and your interpersonal skills. Something else that we are wanting to assess in the interview process is your self-confidence. How confident are you in yourself individually? How confident are you in your answers and your responses? Are you the type of student who will succeed in our program? Our program takes a lot of time and takes a lot of energy, and it really does mean that you need to be self-confident when you come into our program. Of course, we will help you with that during the program, but it is helpful for us to know that you as a person are confident and can speak confidently. One of the other areas that we are assessing in the interview is your leadership skills and your community involvement. So give us some examples of when you led a group of people, or give us some examples of how you might lead in a difficult situation. So we will ask you questions about your leadership skills and your leadership abilities. It's really important here for you to understand that this does not mean that you have to already have had a formal leadership role in an organization. You can lead within your family. You can lead within another student group. So it does not have to be a leadership role that you had in a company. We're asking you to reflect back on the experiences that you've had and share with us how you led a project, how you led a team, how you lead in a certain area. We also want to know, how are you involved in the community? Again, remember, the purpose of our interview is to assess how you fit with our program, and our program really is designed to create the next leaders in business and in the community. So we want to know, are you involved in the community already? Do you volunteer, for example? Do you do something beyond your company or even within your organization? Are you involved in charity? Do you help others? Do you tutor kids, or do you tutor children in math or in science or things like that? So what kind of ways are you involved in your community? That's also very important for us to understand, and it might not be something that you would think of first when you think about an interview for a business school. And then the last area where we will assess you following the interview is on diversity. We are committed to a diverse class within each of our programs, and so we want to know, what kind of diversity do you bring to the program? That diversity could be something as simple as your background is different from other people's background. Maybe you are an attorney and we don't have many lawyers or attorneys in our program. That can be diversity. Another area of diversity can be what you want to do after the program finishes. You want to start your own business. That can add diversity if we have a number of people in the program who want to work for a national company and don't want to start their own business. So we're looking for ways that you are diverse, different, unique things that you can bring to the program that will help us to bring as many ideas as possible. We believe that the more diverse our student body is, the more ideas we have within our classes, and that's very important for us to have those different ideas. So that's the general overview of the reason, the purpose for the interview. It's not to make sure that you have the right credentials or you've passed all of the exams. We do that with the other parts of your application. The interview is really for us to know who you are as a person and to assess how you fit with our school. So moving on from there, let me tell you next what to expect when you come to our interviews. So when you come to the interviews, the first thing obviously that you'll need to do is arrive to campus. Now, if you've ever been to Nazarbayev University, you know that we have a large campus with many different places where you can get lost. So let me give you your first tip here, and that's to arrive early. I would suggest that you arrive 20 or 30 minutes before your interview process. And that's so that if you have to, and if something happens, you have to find a place to park, you have enough time to do that without getting too concerned or too nervous that you'll miss your interview time. It also gives you a chance to arrive to find our rooms, to find where we are. Our admissions staff is really great about helping you find your way around, but you never know, you might get lost, and so it's really helpful to arrive to campus early. So I'd really suggest 20 to 30 minutes early to arrive to campus so that you're not late for your interview. Also, arriving early gives you a chance to calm down a little bit, because we know that you're nervous when you come into the interviews. So you can calm down, you can get a glass of water, you can just help yourself relax a little bit. So please, first tip is to arrive early to campus. Then also, you can expect that we plan for about an hour for our interviews. Your interview might not last that long, and that's okay. Our interviews last as long as we feel that we need them to last. And just because an interview might only take 30 minutes doesn't mean that it's a bad interview. Sometimes that just means that we have all the answers that we need, and we don't need to ask any additional questions. So keep that in mind, that some interviews will take longer than others, and that's completely normal for us. But you should plan for an hour of your time to be here with us in an interview. You will be interviewed by a number of our professors here in the school, and we'll also have at least one member of our admissions staff who join us in the interviews to answer technical questions about the interview process or the application process. But you will be interviewed by members of our faculty here in the Graduate School of Business. Sometimes if we have guests visiting from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, which is our partner institution, if they are visiting us, sometimes they will also be interviewing you. So it could be a member of the admissions team from the Fuqua School of Business who's part of your interview, or one of the visiting faculty or associate deans from Fuqua will also be joining us in the interview. So be prepared for the interview to be conducted by professors. So one of my other tips that I would give to you is to review the information on the GSB website about our faculty. You can go to our GSB website and you can find information there listed under the tab Faculty. And that tab will show you who we are. It will give you our pictures so you can see us. And it will tell you a little bit about our background and who we are. So that if you're interviewing with me, then you would know that I do research in leadership, and maybe you could be prepared for me to ask you some questions about leadership. So we've just given you the link there to the faculty profiles so you can check us out there. So you will be interviewed by one or two members of our faculty. So in terms of what to wear for your interview, this one I think should be pretty obvious, but I want to make sure that I share this with you as well. We do take the interviews to be serious business interviews, and so I would suggest that you would wear to our interviews what you would wear to a job interview. It shows us how serious you are taking the interview process with us. Usually here in GSB, we say we have a business casual environment when it comes to once you're in class. But for the interview, it's really important for you to show us that you're taking this seriously and that you are highly motivated to be part of us. So I suggest business attire for you to wear for your interview. Something else to know is that all of our interviews are conducted in English for our full-time MBA program, for our MSF program, and for our executive MBA program. We encourage you to make sure that you are proficient and you're prepared. So I would encourage you to work a little bit on your English before you come for your interviews. Now, there is one exception. Our executive MBA program is a dual language program. So our interviews are conducted in English, but our admissions staff are available to assist you with translations. So it's very similar to the in-class experience for our executive MBA students, where our professors deliver all of the material in English, and then our students rely on simultaneous translation. So our interviews are conducted in a similar way, where the interviews are conducted in English, and then our staff assist with translation. And I can't say enough, our admissions staff are really excellent in that, and so they help us out. But it does give you an experience that's similar to the in-class experience and what it's like. So please prepare, brush up on some of your business language, your business English, so that you're ready to discuss terminology in English. That could be finance terminology if you are interviewing for the Masters of Science in Finance. Make sure that you are prepared with the right terminology. That, again, communicates to us the seriousness that you are taking into this program, that you're prepared, and that you are ready for this interview. So that's what to expect in the interview. So we'll move on now to some specifics on how to answer questions, because I know this is always an area where people just aren't really sure how they should answer the questions. So I'll say again at the beginning here, there is no right answer. There is rarely going to be a time where we are asking you a question and we expect one answer to be the answer that's given to us. Now, of course, if you're in an interview and someone asks you, what's the price of gold today? Well, of course, then there will be a general right answer. But if we're asking you to explain to us a time when you had to deal with conflict in a group setting, there's no right answer to that. We want to find out more about you and how you deal with conflict, and what was the process that you went through as you were dealing with that situation. So there is no right answer. You should be prepared for some commonly asked questions, because there are some questions that we usually answer or that we usually ask multiple times during our interviews. Some of those commonly asked questions you can find out just by doing a Google search for commonly asked interview questions or admissions questions for a business school, but some that you can be prepared for. You should certainly be prepared to discuss your strengths and your weaknesses. This is always a challenge for people of how to discuss their weaknesses without sounding that you have too many issues or problems. It's okay for us to discuss our weaknesses because that helps us to know areas that you want to improve. And many of those areas that you want to improve, those are the reasons why you're coming to a graduate school of business anyway. So that's important for us to know that you're wanting to improve yourself in areas where our program can help you and can help you improve. Also, be prepared to answer some of your strengths. Help us to know what are the areas that you're strong in. What are those areas where you can add value to your class, whether it's the MBA program, the Executive MBA program, or the Masters of Science and Finance program. We need to know that you feel really strong in your accounting background, but that you need a little bit more help in your business communication. Or you've been working in marketing for a number of years and you're pretty sure you can put a marketing plan together, but you probably need some work in corporate finance. That's okay for us to know those things, and this is a commonly asked question, your strengths and your weaknesses. Another commonly asked question for us has to deal with teamwork. So our programs are team-based programs, and what that means is that we put all of our students into teams, and much of your work is done within a team setting. So we might assign a case study for you and your team to solve, and your team turns in one case solution for that. So we will ask you questions about how you deal with conflict in teams. That's a common question. It will likely be asked in every single interview because we want to know, are you someone who sits back and tries to reflect on things? Are you the person who jumps in right away and starts to try to find solutions? Are you a peacemaker or a bridge builder within your team? And all of these are necessary roles within teams. So we're just asking you, what role do you take within a team? We're not saying that there's a right answer or a right role to take within that team. But that is definitely a response that or a question that we will ask you. You should also be prepared to tell us about your work history. So you should know your resume, you should know your CV. We will ask you questions from that. Those are always, for me, the easy questions to ask. If I see that you had listed some community involvement, maybe you're part of a charity fund, that's an area for me to ask you a question right away. I'll say, tell me about your involvement with this charity organization and why were you involved with it? So again, we're trying to assess fit. We're wanting to know what motivates you. So that's an answer that you can give us. So know your resume, know your CV. Now in terms of how long your answers should be, this is always a concern that people have. You don't want to take 5 minutes to answer a question. If we ask you to tell us a little bit about your work experience and walk us through your CV, we're not expecting 20 minutes of an answer there to tell us about your responses. Instead, you should think about your responses in 1 to 2 minute segments. And then if there's something else that we want to know from your answer, we can follow up with you and we can ask you additional questions. So give us that opportunity to do that. So I would encourage you to think about your answers in terms of 1 minute or 2 minutes for your length of responses. So those would be kind of my tips for you on how to answer those questions. And keep in mind, again, like I keep saying, there's no right answer. We want you to share with us your background and let us know more about who you are. And then something else that I want to share here specifically is related to Skype interviews. So one thing that we oftentimes will do, if for some reason you can't make it to campus, we will sometimes schedule a Skype interview. This is not usual. We want everyone to come to campus. We want a face-to-face interview with you because face-to-face interviews allow us much more interaction and much more understanding of who you are as a person. But every once in a while, we will do Skype interviews if someone just simply cannot come, just simply can't make it. So let me give you a couple more tips on Skype interviews. One of the biggest things to know with Skype interviews is to please send your contact information to us at least 24 hours in advance. It's very important for us to know how we can get in touch with you. So you need to make sure that you share your Skype ID with us, with our admissions team, at least 24 hours in advance. That allows us to connect with you to make sure that everything works. Keep in mind who is interviewing you. We have our faculty members who are interviewing you with you, our guests from the Duke Fuqua School of Business, and they're busy people, so it can be really difficult to have to wait 5, 10, 15 minutes or to have some issues that make it where we can't conduct our interview with you. So please send your contact information to us early. Also, I encourage you before the Skype interview, well in advance, to check the video and to check the audio very carefully to make sure that it's working. Make sure that we can hear you. Make sure that we can see you very well. So that's definitely something to check carefully. Make sure that there's not feedback or other sounds that are going on, but that it's a very clear connection for us. And then also, it's important to think about what you wear with Skype interviews. A lot of times people feel with Skype interviews that they can be more casual and they're not too concerned about what they're wearing. But keep in mind that any time that we see you is an opportunity for us to make an assessment or a judgment about who you are. So take this professionally as well and wear professional attire for the Skype interview and make sure that you are prepared for that. Something else that I like to tell people with a Skype interview is to check what's behind you. Check to see what's in the video because a lot of times you're maybe in an environment that doesn't project a business image. So check to see what we can see on that video. Do we see a nice picture behind you, or is it a video of, are there other people behind you? So please make sure that you are checking what's behind you in that video as well, because it's a reflection on you as well as what you're wearing in the interview process. So Skype interviews can be tricky. I would always encourage you to come for a face-to-face interview instead. It's fewer things to be nervous about, because with a Skype interview, I would be very nervous about the video and the audio and making sure that that's working, in addition to being nervous about the questions that I'm being asked. So please, I would encourage you to come to campus instead of doing a Skype interview. So I've just given you 4 main areas to consider with the interviews. I've reviewed with you basics of the purpose for the interview. Why we're doing it is to find a good fit for you. I've gone through with you a couple of things on what to expect during the interview, how long they are, when you should arrive to campus, who is interviewing you, and how the interviews are conducted. I've gone through briefly how to answer some questions. I did not go through with you a lot of commonly asked interview questions. I'm hoping that in our question and answer period that you will be able to ask some of those questions. And then I've talked with you a little bit about Skype interviews. So I didn't want my time to take too much time, so I've taken about 30 minutes at the first half of this webinar to go through this section with you. And I want to be able to open it up and let you ask questions of us in the next section of this interview. Several of you are asking about this presentation and whether we're going to send it to you. The answer is yes, it will be uploaded to the website. We will share this information with you so you can have access to it. And then, of course, you are always welcome to contact our admissions team and ask questions about the interview process. So I think now I'll open it up to questions that you all have, and we can kind of engage in a question and answer session now. So if you have questions, please make sure that you share it with us. So I'm seeing that there's one over here. Okay, so Deanna, I see that you asked a question that says, what does it mean about communicating your ideas? So what we're really trying to find out is, can you communicate confidently about an issue that you're aware of? So I might ask you a question about your job experience. I might say, so I see on your resume that you led a project team in a certain area. Tell me more about that. So that gives me an opportunity to hear how you talk about your own experiences. I will ask you those types of questions because you are more likely to be able to talk clearly about something that you've experienced and something that you're familiar with. So we just want to know, how do you communicate your knowledge to other people? So I might ask you a question about an experience that you've had. Something else we do is sometimes we'll ask you a question that's kind of challenging. It might be difficult for you because we want to see how you communicate under pressure. One of the questions that we ask a lot of times to do this is we might say, well, what do you do when you notice that a classmate is cheating on an exam, or that you feel a classmate is turning in a project that they actually found online? So we might ask you to reflect and think, how would you deal with that? And so in that case, we're asking, how are you going to communicate in a difficult situation? And so we're giving you an opportunity there to answer a question. So that's what I mean by communicating your ideas. It's all just about, how are you able to speak with us? What are the ways that you do that? We understand that some people are shy by nature and that other people are outgoing by nature. We take all of that into consideration. So it's okay to be a shy person and to be in an MBA program or an MSF program. That's normal. We're just wanting to know, can you speak confidently about the things that you're familiar with? Because then we know that when you come into our classrooms and a professor asks you a question, that you'll be able to answer that question as well. So that's what we mean by that. Let's see, are there other questions that you have about our interview process? I see some of you might be typing your questions, so we'll wait for you. Oh, good. I'm glad everything's clear for you, Nurlan. That makes us feel good that we're giving you a pretty clear understanding of the way that our interview process works. It sometimes can be challenging for people because they're really nervous. They're not sure what to expect. And so we want to kind of take some of that questions, take some of the questions out of it and make sure that we're making it clear for you. All right, so I see another one, Gulamjan. What kind of mistakes do applicants make? I think one of the biggest mistakes that in the interview that applicants make is maybe overestimating their knowledge or their experience. We don't expect that our applicants have all of the knowledge and all of the experience in the world. Otherwise, you shouldn't be coming to our program. You shouldn't be joining our school if you have all of the answers. So one of the mistakes that that some applicants make is having all of the answers or knowing, acting as if they know everything. Because we expect that you're going to say, one of the things that I know I need to learn is marketing, or I need more help in leadership. I'm finding myself in a leadership role now, and I need more experience in that. We want you to be able to honestly give us some areas that you need to improve, because those areas for improvement are areas that you can work within the program. And so by ensuring that you're not too confident in the interview, we want to see your confidence, but we want to make sure that you can recognize your weaknesses, that you don't, that you are sure that you have some. It's challenging when we ask the question, do you have weaknesses? And someone says, no, I don't have any weaknesses. Well, right there, that's telling me there's either overconfident or they're underprepared. And so that's another area that I think applicants make a mistake in, is not being prepared. And we can see this when you don't know basic things about our program. So one of the other questions that I ask applicants is, tell me which classes you're excited about to take in our program. And this is something where students can go, you can go as an applicant to our website and you can read our courses. You can read about our course descriptions and you can find out which courses we offer in GSB. And when I ask an applicant, tell me which courses you think you'll be confident in, a lot of times they'll say, well, I haven't really read the information on the website. Well, that tells me that the applicant is underprepared, that they are not ready for this interview. So lack of preparation is definitely a mistake that's made by an applicant, not taking the time to read through our website, to check and find out what are the courses. Another way for an applicant to show that they are prepared is by having questions ready to ask us in the interview. So I see we've just given you the link to our course descriptions. So you will all be prepared and you can come in after having read the information about the courses. So another area where you can show your level of preparation is by having questions ready to ask us. At the end of every interview, we say, all right, do you have questions for us? And here, this is an opportunity for you to find out, how do you fit with our program? Will our program give you the things that you are hoping for at the end of the program? And this is where you ask questions. You can ask questions about our faculty, about our backgrounds. You can ask us questions about the courses. How do we teach the courses? What are some common issues that we might have within our classes? You can ask us questions about student life. You could ask us questions about career services that we offer. So this is another mistake that applicants make when they do not have questions. They finish the interview and they say, no, I don't have any questions for you. So I would say that those are some common mistakes that can be made here within an interview. Let's see, I don't know, I have a couple of our admissions team who are also here, and maybe they can think of some other common mistakes that applicants make, but I think those are kind of some of our major ones that our applicants might make. I think we have another question coming our way. Good, good. So I hope you'll be prepared when we have our interview with you, and I hope you'll apply for our programs. What other questions do you all have for us? Other things that we did not answer, or information that we did not provide you that you were hoping that we would provide you tonight as we're talking about being prepared for an interview session? I see someone's typing, so we're just waiting for the question. Sure. So main points of how to be ready or preparing for an interview. Again, I keep saying it, but I really do think it's important to know that there's no wrong answer. So there's no way to prepare an exact answer for a question. It really is about who you are as a person. We're really wanting to find out who you are. So be yourself in an interview. You know, if you're generally a funny person, then I expect that in the interview you'll be funny as well. And so these are just things that we're just wanting to find out who you are. So yes, here, this is the purpose for our interview. And you can see here that you are assessed in these following areas: purpose, communication, self-confidence, leadership, and diversity. So I would say be prepared to talk about these things, or be prepared to show us these things. Definitely be prepared to tell us why you want to pursue this degree. And not just this degree, but this degree at this time. Why is now the time for you to get an MBA or for you to get a master's in finance or an executive MBA? So be prepared with your purpose, your goal. What's motivating you? That's really important for us to understand. Are you motivated because you recognize that you need more information to be able to move forward in your career? Whatever your motivation is, help us to understand that. So I would be prepared with some of these areas. I would also be prepared on the next slide. Be prepared in terms of language. So I said already that our interviews are conducted in English, so maybe you need to go back and review some financial terms in English if you're applying for the master's in finance. Maybe you need to review some business terms in English. So again, you're showing us your level of preparation by that. So I would make sure that you are prepared in that way. And then also do some homework on what are some of the commonly asked questions during the interview. So on the next slide here, you can see commonly asked questions. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Be prepared to talk about times where you've been a leader, or times where you've engaged in teamwork, or times where you've had to come up with a solution very quickly. These are commonly asked questions in interviews, and you can do a Google search and find some of those. So I would say be prepared for those things. Those are the main areas where I would say you can get ready for your interview. Do a practice interview with someone so that you can feel confident when you come into your interview with us that you have some answers that you're ready to provide. So I would say those would be the areas, the main points to be ready for in an interview. Thanks for asking that question. Do you all have any other questions for us? You can also ask questions about our application process. So not just the interviews, but if you have some specific questions about applying, things that you need to submit, you can also ask us those types of questions. I have some of our excellent admissions team here, and they can answer some of the technical questions about submitting your transcripts or how to fill out the application form and things like that. Okay, so I see the question is about getting into the MBA program with a bachelor's degree and less than 1 year experience. Okay, so a BA degree, you might need to clarify that for us because most of our students will have a bachelor's degree. So I'm thinking you're thinking maybe not in a business field and not in something that's business related. And that's okay. We don't need, your degree does not have to be business related. This is where motivation comes in, and this is one of the ones, okay, BA in economics. This is one of the areas where we ask you why you're wanting to apply to our program. What's your motivation for getting here and for wanting this degree? So that's where it's important, because we can have people coming in with a bachelor's in sociology, but they're interested in pursuing an MBA, and they have a really strong reason and motivation for that and a goal for that. And that's fine. We accept people with different backgrounds. We do have some standards that we look for, so that's why we have you take the ALEX test, which will help us to assess your math abilities if you haven't had a lot of mathematics courses. So in terms of the less than 1 year experience, we do prefer for our students to have more than 1 year, or more than two or more years of experience. But that's not a firm expectation. We have had people come into our program with less than 2 years of experience. So again, it comes down to your motivation, your goals to achieve within the program. It will be more difficult for you to come into the program with less than that, but that's not, it's not saying that you must have at least 2 years of experience to get into the program. One of the things that we do is we review every application. We review all of your essays, all of your letters of recommendation. We review your transcripts and your interview, and all of those come into our decision-making process when we decide who to admit into the program. So it's not just based on your work experience, and it's not just based on your degree or on your test scores. It's based on all of these things together. So if this is something you want to do, I would encourage you to consider applying and just ensuring that you have a good motivation and that you can explain that well in your interview and in your essays that you submit for your application. So I hope that answers your question. I see a couple of others are typing, so we'll wait for your questions as well.
Thank you, Nurlan, for your question regarding the required document for the Executive MBA program. So yes, we will need a letter where you say that you are planning to finance your education yourself. So in the portal, you may find the example of the letter, but it's not the corporate support letter. It actually comes from the individuals. So it's just very next to the corporate support letter. You can fill out that form and upload it to the portal. It's actually the commitment letter. We call it commitment letter, yeah. Because corporate support letter usually comes from companies who are planning to pay for their finance for their employees. Yeah. Oh, thank you for your question. If you need any help on uploading your documents or filling out your application form, please feel free to stop by our office or call us on the phone. So we'll be really happy to help you with the registration. Oh, great. Well, let me do a small announcement. We are planning to do our next webinar on December 11th on Monday at 6 p.m. the same time on topic 3 things to think about when deciding between MBA and MSF. So you'll be able to talk to the Dean of the Nazarbayev University Graduate School of Business, Patrick Dupak. Sorry for typo, it's December 11th, 2017, not 18. We are waiting for more questions.
Nurlan, I might also say one other thing to your question about corporate support. It is important for us to know that your company is positive towards your participation in our executive MBA program if you are planning to continue working during the executive MBA program. So that program allows you to continue working. And so what we do is we ask your employer to provide a letter that says they understand that you will have to take some days off of work and that they support you doing that during the time that you're in the executive MBA program. So even if even if you are paying, it is important for us to know that your company also supports your participation in the program and will give you time away from work to do that. Great. I'm glad you can get that letter. We look forward to your application. Do you all have other questions? Again, it can be about the application process or the interview or other things related to the Graduate School of Business.
Aslam, thank you for your question. So your question is about the possibility of applying to two programs. If you are planning to apply to MSF, to Master of Science in Finance and full-time MBA program, unfortunately, we don't have that option, but admission committee may transfer your application from one program to another. Talking about the full-time MBA and executive MBA, yes, you can apply for both programs.
Yes, so for example, if you apply for one program, for example, MBA, and the admissions committee sees that you are better fit for Master of Science in Finance, they may transfer your application to another program. Of course, they will notify you as well.
And I think it's very important to mention, we'll be really happy to receive from you the ideas or maybe some topics you are really interested in, so we can talk on those topics. Please feel free to send us to our emails. So from the current slide, you can see all three emails for three different programs and our contact numbers.
Is there any other last questions for us before we finish up this webinar? Thanks, Nurlan. I hope to see you at the interview as well. I might be the person who interviews you. You never know. So at least if I am, I know you'll be prepared with the answers.
Dear participants, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for a great webinar today. I think it was very helpful to each of you, and hope to see you very soon. Well, the online registration to full-time MBA and Master of Science in Finance will be open very soon, hopefully in December, and you will get the notification. Please go to our website on a constant basis and check the news. Thank you.
Thank you, and we hope that you join all of our other upcoming webinars. And also, we welcome your ideas about the topics of our webinars. So feel free to send them to us.